This story is somewhat perplexing. One might say even disappointing with Jesus' interaction with the Canaanite woman and his initial refusal to help her. There is much to unpack in this text. This is not a story I remember hearing when I was growing up, and I spent many hours in church. However, I'm encouraged to dig deeper into stories that contain women characters. You know, there aren't that many in biblical stories. You know, we know Ruth and Naomi and Mary Magdalene, but women characters are typically scarce and nameless. For example, the Canaanite woman, we don't really know much about her. As we look back at this text, it tells us that Jesus left that place and went away to the district of Tyre and Sidon. The text doesn't name that place or tell us really any specific details. But the past few Sundays, Pastor Natalie has chronicled the travels of Jesus as he went about ministering, healing, and feeding the 5,000. And he was trying to go somewhere and be quiet and get away from the crowds. But you know how it is when you're trying to get away from people, they always find you. Jesus traveled to Tyre and Sidon, which is said to be a port city around the Mediterranean Sea. Jesus went to the beach for a little R&R, and he encounters this desperate mother pleading for help for her daughter. "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is tormented by this demon." Now, she uses Jesus' messianic title. She used this language to capture the attention of Jesus and the disciples. This woman from a different culture, an outsider, who's not supposed to know what she knows. She's obviously done her homework. It is reminiscent of another nameless woman, the woman with the issue of blood. She knows that Jesus is the one who can provide healing just by touching the hem of his garment. But this Canaanite woman is not seeking healing for herself, but for her child. But Jesus doesn't answer her. And I thought about that silence. And I thought about other stories in the Bible where biblical characters are listening and not receiving answers from God. Like Job, when he suffered his losses and was listening for God. What did he do? He remained faithful, but he wasn't getting any answers. And even Jesus himself on the cross, when he cried out, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" I thought about myself when there's silence. God, are you listening? God, are you there? What do you do in the silence when you feel that God is not listening to your prayers? Do you feel that God's silence has abandoned you? Will you pray as the Canaanite woman does, "Lord, help me"? Do you feel that God has withdrawn from you? Do you retreat? Do you go deeper into prayer? Do you continue to ask and seek answers? Do you request prayers from others? Here, the Canaanite woman does not have any options as she is in the physical presence of Jesus. But Jesus isn't responding. And the disciples are urging Jesus to send her away as she's shouting after us. At first reading, one would think the disciples want Jesus to just make this woman go away. She's bothering us. But commentaries indicate that the disciples didn't want her to go away. They wanted Jesus to honor her request, to do as she asked, to heal this child. But initially, Jesus does not. But then he does answer. And he says, essentially, I didn't come for you. I came for the lost sheep of Israel. See, she's a Gentile. She's an outsider. She's an outcast. She's not yet included. During Jesus' initial ministry, it was limited to the house of Israel, and she wasn't included before Jesus extended his ministry to the entire world. You'd think this would have bothered her, but she said, you know what? She just shook all that off. She knows she has to do something for her child to be healed. She kneels before Jesus saying, Lord, help me. And Jesus responds again, but it's not the loving Jesus. He says it is not fair to take food and throw it to the dogs. Wait a minute now, Jesus. You're getting worse with each answer. Excuse me, did you call this woman and her child dogs? The answer is rude, it's harsh, it's dismissive, it's dehumanizing, devaluing. Was Jesus having a bad day? Was this a human side of Jesus? Maybe life was lifing for Jesus on that particular day. But let's consider this word dog. Now, the Greek word, and excuse me, my Greek is a little rusty, it's been a while, was kion, which was used to describe Gentiles as a slur. But it's said that Jesus used the word kinaria, meaning the diminutive dogs like puppies, which is more loving, what we would consider our little house pets. So does that make it any better? I don't know. But that is what is said that Jesus referred to this woman and her child as a friendly little pet. It mattered not to this woman. The woman replies, yes, Lord, even the dogs eat the crumbs from the master's table. She had nothing to lose in all her desperation for her child. She pushes back. She is a woman. She's a disempowered person in that society. She is accustomed to be in a role of invisibility, a role who by societal standards and rules have to be under the protection of a husband or other male figure. She is marginalized. She's disempowered. But more importantly, she's a parent. Now, I'm not a parent, but I know what it is to have to advocate for someone that you love, for someone who is vulnerable, for someone who is oppressed, for someone who is marginalized in our society. And then you find your voice when you are advocating for someone. It doesn't matter what you have to endure. I know we stand on the shoulders of those in our history who have spoken truth to power, the long line of trailblazers who continue to do so. We stand on the shoulders of our ancestors who have pushed, who have persevered, who have challenged, who have prayed prayers which sustained and empower us yet today. We stand on the shoulders of those who have marched, who have protested, who have spoken out, and continue to speak out for our queer siblings, as we are often dehumanized and demonized through media and legislation. There are several prominent figures who continue to be in the struggle and are instrumental in bringing forth change. And I particularly remember a 10-year-old trans female who spoke up to our Texas Senate a few years back. This young woman spoke to affirm her and other trans siblings' basic human rights as her mother stood by to support her. This is similar to this story about having your loved one by your side as you speak out about your own humanity. In this story, the woman says, yes, the dogs eat the crumbs, and Jesus rewarded her by saying, woman, great is your faith, let it be done for you as you wish. And her daughter was healed. As we look back, this Canaanite woman is an outcast and marginalized and devalued, but she refuses to take no for an answer. She refuses to back down. And let us refuse to take no for an answer. Marginalized communities have often been left with the scraps, the crumbs, the leftovers. We unify and stand unafraid to speak up, to stand up, and demand acceptance, dignity, humanity from the systems that have excluded us. We demand our rights to full inclusion, to justice and dignity and lives that we deserve. To stop begging from these systems and structures built on fear and exclusion, and demand our rights to God's justice, dignity, and love. Beloved, as life throws slings and arrows, difficulties and disappointments continue to push back, let us show up, advocate, and support each other. Know that God is there in the silence, and may you experience healing and transformation. May it be so. Amen.